Hey Pokemon fans, I'm Jay Wentz, and today we're going to talk about the foundation of any main series Pokemon game, sprite art. Fans love to critique it, use it, or even remix it into something new, but today we're going to look back at the very first sprites ever released in Pokemon games. You might be surprised at just how peculiar some of them might be. Let's start things off with Pokemon's origins, Red and Green. Released in February of 1996, these games were incredibly ambitious, bringing an addictive and fun RPG that sold millions to the Game Boy, despite it being toward the end of the original handheld's life cycle. However, these original games suffered two major flaws. The first was that the game had a ton of glitches, many of them game-breaking. And the second was that a lot of the creature sprite art was, well, not quite so good. Let's look and see just how bad Pokemon's first sprites looked 17 years ago. Moltres isn't exactly pretty. In fact, to be completely honest, it looks stupider than Fearow when you compare them side by side. The other two legendary birds look decent, but for some reason, the Firebird never got the love it deserved. An interesting error that started with these games is the Arbok back sprite, which features two black stripes. For whatever reason, Arbok was never depicted with these stripes ever again. Hitmonchan is another classically weird sprite. His boxing glove is so big that you can barely tell what the sprite is supposed to look like. It's a popular fan joke that if you look at the sprite the right way, it resembles a Togekiss watching a Doduo poop. Wait, what? You have to stretch your imagination a little bit. But when you look at fan art like this, yeah, I guess I can see it. Now the problem is unseeing it. Wigglytuff bothers me a lot. Why? Just look at those menacing eyes. They're not even close to the same size, and it makes the normally adorable Wigglytuff look like some kind of mass murderer. I don't like it! I don't like it one bit! Diglett and Dugtrio have tiny noses, making it look like they're actually the mouth. That being said, this is a mistake that I've had throughout my entire life, so maybe I can't blame Red and Green that much. Diglett is normally known for these black, beady little eyes with his strange pink mouth, but yes, I know, I'm dumb. One of the changes that's the most noticeable to longtime fans is the alterations made to the series' mascot, Pikachu. Early artwork, including the first sprites, have him appear chubbier, while newer iterations of the character slim him down and add more of a separation between the head and the torso. Maybe it's because this is the first Pikachu that I ever knew, but I'm particularly fond of the original design, and I have a hard time liking him as much in the new one. If you look carefully, Pikachu's original design was also lighter around the face and darker around the stomach, but today's Pikachu is pretty consistent color-wise all around. I miss you, old Pikachu. You'll always be the cool one to me. And speaking of old sprites that are cool, nothing is cooler than the original depiction of Haunter. Haunter's modern art is solid, but there's something about the dark figure, wide eyes, and jagged mouth that make the original Haunter design so genuinely spooky and awesome. It reminds me of the truly terrifying Haunter in the Electric Tale of Pikachu, which is way better than what they decided to do with him in the anime. But all minor complaints aside, there is one sprite that Red and Green truly messed up big time. This one is so downright hideous that it's hard to look at with a straight face. Are you ready for this one? I present to you Mew. No. No! You can't do this to us, Game Freak! Why? Why have you forsaken us? I get that early in, Mew was supposed to be a genetic Pokemon, but having him pretty much straight up resemble an embryo is not in the least bit attractive. It seems that even Game Freak realized the horrible Frankenstein abomination that they created, and they made Mew more cat-like within a matter of months. And thankfully, they've never touched the old design again. Please, kill it with fire! Or kill it with dark? Honestly, I don't care how you do it. Just kill it. And now, to complete our look back at the differences in the original sprites, we have our special guest, MunchingOrange, tackling the artwork we got in the red and blue versions.
One of the biggest complaints of the original red and green versions was, unsurprisingly, the poor quality of the sprite art. And so, in October of 1996, Japan received the blue version, a third version of Pokemon with fixed glitches and completely new sprite art. It is these new sprites that ended up in the English releases almost 2 years later in Pokemon Red and Blue. But despite getting a second chance to save the original sprite designs, this new batch still had plenty of mistakes and oddities. Probably the most famous mistake is the one on the Pokemon coughing, where he has the skull and crossbones above his face rather than below. I really don't get how they even screwed this up. They literally got him perfect in the first games, and yet they screwed him up in this improved version. Sadly, coughing is just the beginning. The Pokemon Ivysaur now stands on 2 feet, something it really should never be able to do. Everyone's always mentioning how Pikachu keeps getting thinner with every new game. Blastoise seems to have missed that bandwagon, or he was too big to fit in it. I mean, look at him, he's freaking obese in this one. His red and green Sprite was actually pretty cool, but here he just looks like a sphere. But Blastoise isn't the only Pokemon that put on a few pounds for this game. Just look at Mr. Mime. Ugh. Between games, Golbat seems to have taken some lessons from Gene Simmons. Just look at that tongue. Combine that with the fact that his head is about 2 times longer than it should be, and this is without a doubt the worst version of the bat ever released in a Pokemon game. The Pokemon Kakuna now has arms. It makes a little sense that he'd have stingers to look more like Beedrill, which he evolves into, but he's a Cocoon. Cocoons don't have arms, and Kakuna never has arms in any other form. There is one exception though, which is this Pocket Monsters Bandai card, drawn by the final authority on Pokemon art design, Ken Sugimori. If you take this art into account, then maybe this armed Kakuna isn't a sprite error after all. Next we have the Pokemon Cloyster, which apparently opens horizontally. While this makes it closer in resemblance to a clam, the most popular of the bivalves, Cloyster has been positioned vertically in virtually every appearance that has made sense. The Pokemon Kingler is usually shown having his left pincer particularly bigger than his right pincer, but in this version, both pincers are the same size. And finally, I know how much Jaywitz loves Execute.
Well, guess what, guys? Got 6 bad eggs for you right here.
It seems perfect that they'd mess this one up too. Check out the giant egg in the middle. He's like 4 times bigger than any of the other ones. But despite all these errors, nothing compares to the unholy terror that is Executor. Let's forget the fact that the eggs are so big that they're nearly touching the ground, and just look at the faces. These 3 abominations are nothing like the happy-go-lucky Executor we know, and instead look like the very embodiment of pain, disgust, and terror, and no one should ever have the misfortune to look at this sprite again.
As Pokemon closes in on nearly 2 decades of existence, it's fun to look back at some of the original designs. Some truly awesome, and others not quite so much. Thanks for watching today's video. As always, if you enjoyed it, you can click the subscribe button right below me to learn when my newest videos are coming out. And also, special thanks to MunchingOrange for coming by and being a part of today's Fact of the Day. If you want to see a fun battle that him and I had between some of our favorite Pokemon across our channels, well, you can click this video over here and watch it. Yeah. And you should do that because it's fun. Spoilers. I use a cast form. Your argument is invalid. You just kind of have to go over there now. So, enjoy that.